Hi, everyone. My name's Rose Sicoli. I am your Ward 1 City Councillor. We're getting some feedback up here. Okay. I just want to welcome you and thank you for battling the challenges of parking outside and being here tonight. I know that couldn't have been easy for you, but thank you so much for coming out. I'm joined here with Councillor Michael Sullivan, my ward mate. Did you want to say a few words before I
just welcome everybody. I look forward to hearing your concerns.
So I just want to remind everybody that tonight's meeting is a result of a meeting that we held last May. And at that time, we acknowledged that there were some traffic concerns, some speeding concerns in the neighborhood. And this meeting is specific to the Shellard Lane area. So if you are here and you have concerns from a different area like the original West Brand or Mount Pleasant or Oak Hill, just know that those meetings happen specific to those neighborhoods. So tonight we're really focused on the Shellard Lane area. So like I said, we had a meeting last May where we just listened. We just sat here and we listened to all of the concerns and we identified the problem areas, and then our wonderful traffic management team took those concerns and put it together into a plan. And tonight we're going to present that plan. And then we didn't want to just take that to council. We wanted to make sure that we got it right before we did anything with it. Okay, so that's what we're doing here today. We're going to review the plan that's put together. There's still time to change it, which is what we're doing here tonight. So I look forward to hearing from everyone. Everyone will have a chance to speak. There's some viewers online that are going to have the chance to speak as well. And before we really kick off, I do have Deanna Basso here from the Shellard Lane Neighbourhood Association, and I want to give her an opportunity to have a chat with everyone here tonight. I know that the Shellard Lane Neighbourhood Association does such great work in the community, and they're always looking for volunteers. So Deanna, I think you're here online.
I am. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Deanna. You got the room right now. Go for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank yourself, Councillor Rose, and Councillor Michael for giving Shellard Neighbourhood Association the opportunity to speak and to be here. As many may or may not know, Shellard Neighbourhood Association is a vital part of West Brant, and we have been actively involved in a lot of the initiatives within the community. We do have sometimes many concerns from our community in regards to the traffic, the community, the speeding, the hanging out at ACS school, the screeching of the tires. And on top of all of those concerns, we do also take great pride in our community. We do a lot of the fundraising and community awareness, bringing the community together for the garage sale every year. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to say hello, that we are here. Anyone who wants to volunteer on the Neighborhood Association is always welcome to reach out to us via Facebook, and we'll be happy to, even just join our meetings and or just give us some feedback. Or even if you want to volunteer in an opportunity in one of the initiatives that we have, we're always here to just help our neighbors out. So again, thank you very much, councillors, for allowing Shellard Neighbourhood Association to be a part of this as well.
Thank you so much, Deanna. And you guys, they do such great work there. And I don't want to bribe anyone, but they do have food at the meetings, which is usually why I go. So feel free to reach out through Facebook. They do such great work. The community garage sale, all of those ice skating rinks that we all enjoy, the participation month and all of the activities they offer for the children. So don't forget about them. They need us as much as we need them. And if you can't find them on Facebook, I'm very easy to find. So I can connect you for sure. And without further ado, the reason that we're all here, I'm going to pass the mic over to Josh and Rob, and they're going to share the presentation with you and the suggestions, and then we're going to hear from everyone. So take it away, guys.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to hear our traffic calming plan for the Shellard neighborhood. And again, as Councillor Sicoli said, this is a follow-up meeting from the meeting we held back last May of 2022. So back a little bit of background, back from the May 2022 meeting, we had a discussion regarding community safety and traffic concerns. Attendees that came, they raised traffic concerns and asked any questions. So tonight we have developed a neighborhood plan, which we are presenting for everybody to hear based on all the recommendations in the Shellard neighborhood and the concerns. So before we start, I just would like to go over some traffic calming examples. So in the presentation, you will hear me reference raised pedestrian crosswalks and speed cushions. So I would just like to show you guys two photos, one of a pedestrian crossover and one of a speed cushion, as they will be presented in tonight's meeting. So our first recommendation on McGinnis Drive in the north side of Shellard Lane, we are going to be looking at reducing all the posted speed limits to 40 kilometers per hour on our local roadways. And we are going to be looking at reducing the speed limits to 30 kilometers an hour in front of schools and parks. So our first recommendation, McGinnis at Yarrington Drive, a raised pedestrian crosswalk. McGinnis Drive at Fisher Street, a raised pedestrian crossover. McGinnis Drive at Bradley Lane, a raised pedestrian crossover. This is actually already installed. That was a notice of motion through the councillor's office. So this has actually already been installed along McGinnis Drive at Bradley Lane. McGinnis Drive at Dowden Avenue. This is also a raised pedestrian crossover. This was actually already installed as well. McGinnis Drive at St. Patrick's, an always stop was installed as well through a notice of motion. Another recommendation is Donegal Drive at Suds Lane. We're proposing to install a raised pedestrian crossover to connect into the park on the north side. Donegal Drive at Suds Lane, again, we would be looking at the raised crosswalk into the park. We would be looking at 30-kilometer zone in front of the park with playground ahead signs to complete the area into the park there. Dowden Avenue at Bradley Lane, we would be looking at converting the existing school crossing to a pedestrian crossover, and we would be looking at adding a speed cushion on the east side of the road. Is that better? Sorry, again, Dowden Avenue at Bradley Lane, we would be looking at converting the existing school crossing to a pedestrian crossing and adding a speed cushion on the east side. So Shellard Lane, some recommendations that we have for the proposed road would be reducing the speed limit to 40 kilometers an hour during school times along Shellard Lane, rotating radar feedback signs on Shellard, community safety zone that has already been approved. So that will be installed this summer, and possible future automated speed enforcement when that does come to the city of Brantford. We would also be looking at reducing the speeds on the south side of Shellard Lane. So again, all of our local streets would be reducing to 40 kilometers per hour. And we would also be looking at reducing any parks in schools to 30 kilometers per hour. This is just an overview. Not everyone is on there, but any parks and schools south of Shellard would also be reduced. Another recommendation, Flanders Drive at Richard Street. We would be the existing school crossing. We'd be converting to a raised pedestrian crossover into the school there. Blackburn at Mavin Drive. We would be looking at installing a pedestrian crossover there on Mavin on the east side. And we would also be looking and proposing at enhancing the signage and ladder crossings at the existing always stop of Blackburn and Diana Avenue. Blackburn Drive, we would be looking at installing a pedestrian crossover, raised crosswalk there, and that would be connected into Hickory Park. We would be looking at installing a pedestrian crossover at Hodge Lane there, which would connect into the park, and we would be looking at installing 2 sets of speed cushions on Shantz Avenue. Another proposed recommendation is installing 2 sets of speed cushions on Hollandrick Avenue. Duncan Avenue, another recommendation would be to install 2 sets of speed cushions. Hunter Way, we would be removing the existing all-way stop at Flanders and Hunter Way and replacing it with a pedestrian crossover on the west leg and a speed cushion on the east leg. We would also be looking at on Hunter Way on that curve there, you'll see we would be looking at installing just a pedestrian crossover. Hunter Way at Duncan Avenue, we would look at installing a pedestrian crossover and a speed cushion. Conklin Road in Gillespie Drive. Currently, this is an existing type C PXO on the north leg. We would look at removing this and converting it to a full traffic signal at Conklin and Gillespie. On Shellard Lane, the proposed recommendation is to install no right on reg signages at the intersections of Shellard at McGinnis Drive in Flanders and Shellard Lane at Conklin Road. This is due to the amount of pedestrians at both those intersections with schools nearby. So we look at installing no right on reds at those intersections. Throughout Shellard neighborhood, we would be looking at enhancing existing always stops. So that would mean adding ladder crosswalks and additional signage need be at existing locations throughout Shellard neighborhood. So those are the proposed recommendations that we have right now for Shellard neighborhood. Our next steps, if based on the proposed recommendations tonight, if approved, we'd report to Vision Zero Committee in September of 2023, so this year, and then a report would go to council in October of this year as well. Just a little step-by-step here. You can see the 3 notice of motions, they were already installed, so the PXOs and the always stop. Once the report is approved at the end of this year, beginning of next year, based on budgets, we would look at doing any PXOs, any signage, 40 kilometers, 30 kilometer speed limits, and any always stop ladder enhancements. And then through the 2024 budget year, based on council approval, we would then look at doing anything that's a raised crosswalk. So anything that is major infrastructure, speed cushions, raised crosswalks, and the traffic signal at Conklin and Gillespie, that would be funded through the 2024 budget year if council approved it. And those so far are the proposed recommendations for the Shellard neighborhood. So thank you.
Want to say anything? I was just going to introduce the question and answer portion. Thanks very much for that, Josh. My name is Maria Basaki. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Engagement and Customer Service. I am here behind this great big huge screen. Thank you everybody for taking the time to be here. Those that are in the gallery who joined us in person, as well as we've got 22 attendees that are joining us virtually as well. So just to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask a question or provide some feedback on what staff have presented tonight, we're just going to ask that we take turns, and we're going to go to folks in the gallery first, and then I'll ask if anybody online wants to ask a question or make a comment. So we'll start with okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It sounds very good, but I'm not supposed to be here, but I can invite it. So
Oh, okay.
We email all the time, right?
no, I got an invitation to a meeting, and I haven't heard really everything. I haven't heard reply for a while. I've been emailing, not for a couple months. I need a couple answers or a couple questions.
Sure thing. I got
So,
it.
Dave,
No problem.
who should I call? Which one of you should I get? hold of?
Either or.
That'd be nice if I get a reply. Thank
Oh, okay.
you.
All right.
I know.
Yeah, sure. Come on up. The reason why, sorry, I should have mentioned, please come up and speak into one of the mics so that the folks who are joining virtually can also hear the question. Either one, and anywhere you want. Have a seat. You can sit down.
I'm gonna look at your raised walk for Garrington and McGinnis. See where that is, please.
Yarrington and McGuinness.
We're just going to bring the presentation up again.
Yeah.
While we bring the presentation up, I just want to let everyone know that if you are watching this after the fact, because it will be recorded and available to watch after the fact, that you can still reach out to Councillor Sullivan and myself with your comments. And there might be some things in here that are alarming or you don't agree with, and this is a very safe environment, and you can bring these forward, and we don't need to be angry about anything. There's still time to change everything, okay? And we're open and we want to hear the feedback on it.
Okay, so,
please.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's not clear where that's going to go. So are we talking that the crosswalk is going to go into someone's driveway, or what's happening there?
So the proposed would be on the south side of the road, and it would be south of that person's driveway.
Okay,
with
I'm
the
not sure
black
what you
car
mean by
there.
south.
Checking it out now.
Are you talking on this side of the driveway? I live at 164.
Yeah, so where the sign is, so where the stop for pedestrian sign is.
Yeah,
In the middle of the road, that's where the raised crosswalk would
so it's
go.
going to go from that sidewalk on Yarrington directly
it would-
across the road?
It would connect to the sidewalk on the.
Okay, are there going to be any flashing lights or, any of that kind of stuff? What is it going to look like?
So
Is it just, can you show me one of the
Yeah.
other ones?
yeah, so this top picture there, when the raised PXO crosswalk, that's exactly what it would look like.
Okay, and I'm assuming before it goes in, there will be markings on the road to see, because you know what? The problem is that we have 4 cars. So people are walking into an area where, we need our parking, we need to be able to move. We have 4 adults at the home. I don't want anybody to be, us backing out of our driveway and maybe not noticing someone there. It's bad enough as it is right now. I don't know as well that you mentioned whether or not there was going to be, you're talking about the calming areas. Is this because of the apartment block that's going in? Because there's not enough parking spots for that either. So where are they going to go?
The recommendations for McGuinness, that was based on speeding concerns.
Mhm.
So those raised crosswalks that we're proposing were based on speeding and safety along McGuinness Drive.
Okay, and is there not a way that we can just have like those speed cushions that you're talking about?
Speed cushions along McGuinness Drive.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that we looked at raised crosswalks was for pedestrian connectivity to actually be able to cross the road safely. Where
Okay,
speed cushions, it's a form of traffic calming, but there is no protected crossings for people to actually be able to cross the road.
okay, so I would need to see exactly where that's going to land, because it's really not terribly clear. And after the issues that we had with a proposed stop sign going in there, I'd really like more detail on that, please.
If I could just add,
Mm.
Rob Smith, Supervisor
Rob.
of Transportation Services. Yes,
Yeah, we did work before
We certainly
together.
did. So
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with that intersection.
Yeah.
So we will not be doing the crosswalk directly into your driveway.
Okay,
And the south side will require a sidewalk connection. So we'll have to build a little bit of concrete to connect from the road over to the sidewalk. So it's going to be like the opposite side of the intersection.
are we going to lose a parking spot?
Well, technically you can't park within 10 meters
I
of the
know.
intersection with or without a sign.
So that means that we're losing 2 of our cars then, right?
Well, you'll still be able to park in front of your house, but in front of your neighbor's house and the next one down, you can't because it's within the intersection.
Okay. I have a couple of other things I was going to ask about as well on Shellard. Have you considered roundabouts at all for coming in and out of our drives? It would save on gas. It would improve the flow of traffic. I come from a city in Scotland where it's called the City of Roundabouts, so very familiar with it. And I just wondered if that could be a suggestion that we could bring forward there instead of some of the other things, because it's more and more difficult to get out of there already. And when all the building work is finished, we're never going to be able to get out of our driveway, our street. So I wondered if that could be something, because it would help.
We can do a traffic study to see if eventually a traffic signal is warranted at the McGuinness and Powell intersection. The unfortunate thing with roundabouts is they take up a whole lot more space And since houses are already built right at that intersection, we probably can't accommodate a roundabout, but we are, as a city, looking at putting in roundabouts like in the boundary expansion areas that we got from the county.
There- Sorry to interrupt, Rob, you can do different sizes, right? For the roundabouts, they don't all have to be monsters.
That's right.
But I get what you're saying. I'm selfish because I'm thinking about McGuinness right now. But there's like tons of space there between us and I don't know the name of the street on the other side where those new buildings are. But it's one of those things that even a raised roundabout is better, I feel, than you're putting in these enhanced stop signs. It's just a
We can
suggestion.
look at options there for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want those details though. Yeah, I know.
Thanks for your feedback. Okay, Mary Ellen.
Thank you. I just want to start by saying I really applaud the work that you're doing. I really like the crossovers throughout the community at large. What I am disappointed in right now is I don't really see a lot for Shellard's Lane, and that is my concern. I have three major concerns, but I do want to comment on the 40 kilometers per hour, and that is wonderful for those of us that can read and choose to follow the speed limits. Unfortunately, my concerns with Shellard's Lane specifically is that that does not happen. We continue to have speed racers, and I think everyone is aware of that. I'm sure the law enforcement is doing the best they can, but we need to do more. So I couldn't agree more. In retrospect, roundabouts should have been considered in the past. I'm not sure now if the land is available, but certainly that should have been considered in the past. I don't have a lot of solutions, unfortunately, but I do have a couple of more problems with Shellard's Lane itself. The corner of McGuinness and Shellard's Lane, not the one with the traffic lights, but the one without, directly before the intersection, there is a hill. And that is it's an accident waiting to happen, a serious accident. I kind of discovered it when, taking my grandson out on driving lessons. Because of the hill, as you're turning left onto McGuinness, coming from the Pleasant Ridge Road, you can't see until the cars are directly on you on that lane. So something needs to happen there, whether it's, some way of slowing down traffic, a stop sign, something, but there is a hill directly before the intersection, which again is not good. The other thing, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is gridlock in the area. Try getting out of Shellard's Lane at 3:30, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. It is pure gridlock. So something needs to happen. We need to have a plan in place, and perhaps, no disrespect to councillors, I'm not sure if either one of you were on council at the time, but if a plan is cancelled, perhaps council can direct staff to come up with another plan, but we need to deal with the gridlock on Shellard's Lane and relatively quickly before the infill and the build in that area gets any worse. It's just bad. So the gridlock, the McGuinness and Shellard's hill before the intersection, and certainly the speed racers, which is my biggest concern. I do walk that Shellard's Lane every evening, and I could describe the cars, but they go so fast that you can't possibly get a license plate. There is a tremendous amount, continues to be, of speed racing. So that's my concern. I heard nothing about Shellard's Lane itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Does you guys want to respond?
So just on the note regarding Shellard's Lane, just because it is an arterial roadway, it is hard. We unfortunately can't look at traffic calming measures along Shellard's Lane. But what the plan is we're currently looking at making it a community safety zone, and Brantford is looking at bringing in automated speed enforcement, which is like photo radar. So once we do bring that into Brantford, that would be an ideal location along Shellard's Lane.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
When would that happen?
So we're looking at sometime late next year for automated speed enforcement. We're currently going through all the protocols, the standards and the procedures to get automated speed enforcement. So once we bring it to Brantford, that street has been noted for a possible automated speed enforcement location. And we are preparing by making it a community safety zone. So once streets are community safety zones, then those are ideal locations for automated speed enforcement.
That you want to ask?
So in the meantime, we can reach out to the Brantford Police Service to increase their enforcement. And we also have a new batch of these digital speed signs that display your speed when you go by, and they'll say slow down when you're going speeding. So we can put them on Shellard Lane as well. I've spoken with the sergeant. Okay, I'll speak. That's not the traffic sergeant, so I'll speak to the traffic sergeant. I'll speak to the traffic sergeant.
Sorry, we're going to go to an online question. Promise we'll get to everybody.
Thank you, Marie. This actually is following in line with what we're currently discussing. We have Mike Travell online asking if there's any studies that have been done with regards to the speed lane, speed itself, and possible remediation for Shellard's Lane. And is there a possibility of seeing the summary of what was proposed tonight? Like, is there a way to log on online to see this?
Yeah, so the presentation will be on YouTube. The whole meeting's being recorded. Yeah. So the power deck will be on there too for everybody to see the recommendations.
Yeah, it'll be on the city's YouTube channel. So just Google City of Brantford YouTube, and we won't delete the presentation. It'll always be up there. Okay, we're going to go to another question online. So online, for the attendees that are joining us virtually, if you can just use the raise hand icon and I will get to you in order. Deanna, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to, first and foremost, thank you, Josh, for the presentation. And for everyone who is there, of course, because I think that it's very important that everyone sees the safety for our community. The speakers that have already come up and expressed concern about some of the raised pedestrian cross, it's absolutely something that has been brought up in Shellard Neighborhood Association chat through Facebook. There's a couple of things that I would like to have addressed, or maybe something that hasn't been addressed just yet. I do understand that, there is an importance around Hickory Park and Donegal Park, but let's not forget about Edith Montour Park. I am a resident on Edith Montour, and number one is the speed down Edith Montour is the street is quite wider, so there are cars on either side. However, the speed is just sometimes unbearable from Longboat all the way down to Flanders. There was not any mention about a pedestrian crosswalk at Edith Montour, nor was there any street cushions, or sorry, the speed cushions that were going to be installed or at least proposed. And then, of course, so that would be my first concern. And then I want to make sure that that's being addressed. One other address is, of course, the Shellard Lane, and it was discussed in regards to the speed, but, of course, enforcement at ACS, because we can hear it in the middle of the night where they're screeching their tires and they're doing quite a bit of, hanging out at the school. I get it. I totally understand. But at the same time, it's us residents who back onto Edith Montour or back onto ACS and in and around that are constantly calling the police to get someone over there, and they're just as busy. So we wanted to know what is actually going to be done there. And then fourthly, is the red light installation camera on the BSAR. I know that there is signage there that says that there's going to be a camera installed. We see that there is the actual infrastructure there that shows that it's a red light camera. but there's no actual camera that's been installed yet. So those are the main concerns that I just top of mind am thinking, that I'm sure that some of our viewers are probably thinking as well.
Thank you for your concerns. So regarding Edith Montour, we can propose some recommendations. We'll conduct some speed studies over on that street and look at some possible recommendations for that street. There's an ideal location possibly for a crosswalk that goes into the park. So we will definitely take that back and look at that. Again, regarding Shellard's Lane, that's a battle in itself that we're looking at doing automated speed enforcement on when that comes to Brantford, along with traditional police enforcement and the use of our radar feedback signs. Regarding the red light camera, were you referring to the red light camera that's at Veterans Memorial Parkway and Blackburn Drive?
Yes. Sorry, I
Okay.
said the BSAR. Yes, Veteran Memorial.
So that camera is activated. So it does have signs in every direction, and the camera is activated for the east leg.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Deanna. We're going to go back into the physical room. Go ahead. Yep.
Hi, everybody. So I just want to address we were talking about the gridlock on Shellards. That's going to be enhanced a little bit more because they've changed the boundaries of the schools. So now St. Gabe's is going to be having school buses come to the school now, because we just got notification that we're going to have to find like different places to park when we go pick up the kids, because the school buses, there's going to be kids bussed in now because they've changed boundaries. So that's going to enhance the gridlock that happens there. Again, along with everybody else, I think the huge concern is Shellard's Lane. I think that needs to be the focus. My house and my friend that's with me, we both back onto Shellard's. So there's many sleepless nights because we're woke up by screeching, speeding, racing. It's constant. My fear is that my children are playing in my backyard and somebody's going to come through my yard. That's how fast these people go. And I don't want to criticize the Brantford Police Department, but we live there. Like, we see what goes on. There's nobody monitoring anything that is going on. There is nothing going on Shellard's Lane, I can assure you. The first day of school, we had at Shellard's and the next street over from me, where I take the kids out, there was a police officer doing speed. That was the one day, the first day of school. There has never been another car on anywhere picking up any speeders at any time of the day, morning, noon, or night. And the speeds these guys are going, like, we're not talking 60 kilometers. I go 60 kilometers on Shellards. Let's be real. These people are going 100, 120. That's the speeds they're going. And it's constant. Shellards needs to be addressed. I agree with all the other ones because we're getting more and more people all the time. Shellards needs something done. It doesn't need something done in 2024 or 2025. Shellards needs something done now and fast, because there's going to be people killed, hands down. We're just waiting for it to happen.
We will reach out to the traffic sergeant regarding
Please.
police enforcement for Shellard's Lane, and we will follow up regarding any further recommendations for the Shellard area.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back online and then back to the room. So, Stephanie, go ahead. We got lots of time. Stephanie,
Hello.
are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
That was a great presentation. I do like the crosswalk at Yarrington. Sorry to the other person who didn't want that. I'm happy about that. And the no right turn on the red light at Conklin and Shellard Lane is good too. I'm wondering if we could do the stipulation where it's between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. sort of thing, one of those, instead of all hours of the day. And then about, is a roundabout, because I love roundabouts too. And I know that they would help calm the traffic now, maybe on this west end of Shellard Lane, maybe at where the sports complex is going in between Anderson and McGinnis. Is a roundabout still on the table for that entrance somewhere to at least maybe slow people down in that strip, or instead of a light too, instead of a traffic light? And then my only other question was, I was 2 minutes late because I'm home. I appreciate this being online so that I can join because I'm here with my kids, but I missed if there was a connection from McGinnis across Shellard Lane to Powell. If it was a raised crosswalk or something, I just missed that. If we could just confirm that, sorry. Thank you.
So regarding the no right on red, we can look at doing peak hours of the day, especially during the school entrance and dismissal times, because we know that's when the majority of the pedestrians are crossing. So we can look at doing a timed restriction out there for those hours. Regarding the roundabout, we can conduct a traffic study to determine and see the feasibility of a roundabout. And sorry, what was the intersection you were referring to regarding the raised crosswalk?
It was something we brought up last meeting about I think I brought up last meeting about this west end of McGinnis Drive, crossing Shellard Lane over to Powell, I believe it is. Because I can't walk all the way down, or instead of walking all the way down to Conklin or all the way up to Anderson sort of thing.
Yeah, we can review that intersection for some sort of traffic control.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the room. Who was next? And then we have some questions in our Q&A chat online that we'll address.
All right, I just want to say that I think what you're doing on Shellard Lane is great, but that does not solve my problem. I side on to Blackburn between Diana and the BSAR. The speed limit is supposed to be 50 kilometers an hour. They leave the stop sign at Diana or the stop light at the BSAR and Blackburn. By the time they hit my house, they're doing between 80 and 120. And then you hear the whap, 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 whap as they step on the brakes to try and get stopped by the time they hit Diana. It's an absolute nightmare. It goes 24 hours a day. In the night, we're woken by the same thing, the noise. And especially now that motorcycle and hot car season are here. So there were no suggestions for our area. So I was just wondering if anything was being.
This was Blackburn between Diana and Veterans Memorial Parkway?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take that back and look and see about any proposed recommendations for there.
Yeah, it is.
We are going to be enhancing that always stop at Diana and Blackburn. So we are going to be looking at adding ladder crosswalks and secondary stop signs with hazard markers at the always stop.
But we need something to slow them down between Diana and the BSAR. Because for every stop sign, I think that they come through, then they go that much faster trying to make up the time. And so the speed limit is supposed to be 50, but there's not a car that goes 50 down there. Very rarely.
I wanted to point out as well, I know what we're doing in one little location might look insufficient, but what we've done is looked at the whole neighborhood holistically, and there really is a science behind it too. So when we do a little change here, that's also in collaboration with the fact that we're doing a speed hump at the intersection before and a speed hump at the intersection before. So there's a logic and a science behind, they'll be slowed down twice already coming down Blackburn, and then we'll hopefully intuitively have a little more respect for that intersection. And if something's not working, we can be fluid with this throughout the years, right? Once we've input the entire holistic plan into place for the neighborhood, right? So I know it might not look like we're doing a whole lot at that one intersection, but it's holistically the whole neighborhood. We're creating, we're creating this within a person as they're driving through the neighborhood to look out for these things and to slow down because they don't know when a speed hump's coming. So we are working on it, and Josh is going to have a look at that as well. I had a feeling this was going to come up. I believe you and I spoke on the phone.
Yes, we chatted.
So I was ready for this one. Yeah, so I thank you so much for coming out. I just wanted to let you know that if it doesn't look like enough in one area, it's because there's this greater plan that will hopefully have a big impact. Okay.
Well, my fear is that the two soft humps before will just make them go faster when they leave the stop sign. So I would really like to see something done between Diana and BSAR, but thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. There were a couple of questions in the chat. One of them was specific to Monroe Circle. Don't know if there are any responses we could do on that one. And then the other one was to just reiterate what was happening again on Blackburn Drive and Diana Ave.
Is the concern on Monroe Circle speeding, or what is it? We recently sent out a parking amendment letter and we're currently receiving feedback. The idea is to provide more on-street parking on Monroe Circle, and all the feedback that we get will be presented to council before their vote on the matter. So I think majority are in favor of adding additional on-street parking on Monroe Circle. I don't know specifically what the concern was or if that was just a question.
Perhaps there'd be benefit to explaining the unassumed lands and the restrictions that we have as a city when we're dealing with unassumed lands. And have we taken over Monroe Circle yet?
No, Monroe Circle is still unassumed. Basically, west of Conklin, most of those streets over there are unassumed. So we can't make any physical changes to the road because we haven't assumed them, and a lot of the roads are still base asphalt. So the developer still has to come in and finish the roads and fix any deficiencies that need to be repaired before we take them over. But we can look at doing traffic control and parking control changes because those are relatively easy just with signage and paint. But any physical changes to the road, we can't do until we actually take ownership of them.
Stephen, you were the one who asked the question about Monroe. Did that address what you were asking about?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me. It actually didn't address my question because adding the parking, and I did receive the letter from a neighbor. We all didn't get it, unfortunately, but I eventually got it. We didn't, the letter clearly states that they want to put more parking. I've talked to so many of my neighbors who aren't in favor of this at all. For the amount of children that we have on our street, and we have an abundance of children, we also seem to have an abundance of parents that allow the children to play at very odd hours of the night, all night long, 7 days a week. It's not the noise of the children that's distracting. That's perfectly fine. That's the reason we moved to Brantford, is to be more around family type of an atmosphere. We have a lot of young people that drive on the street. We also have a lot of blind corners. We have a blind spot from Tate coming off a long road onto Monroe Circle. And there's parking signs that say no parking right up to the edge of the street at Tate and Monroe, which is very dangerous because when you're trying to enter your street, you actually can't see. So you're putting a third of your car out before you can see out your driver's window in either direction. Just moving those parking spots back to a minimum of 2 parking spots would allow a much better view. But by putting more cars on the road, we already have a problem with the snow plowing. It's a huge issue on our street. The city picking up the garbage, and we have a bus route. Our street actually is used as a bus route. By allowing more parked cars on our road, we're going to endanger so many small children. I sent an email off and I sent it to both councils of Ward 1 as well. And my major concern is, and again, my neighbors as well, I was hoping they would join this meeting, is the children going to get hurt or somebody's going to get killed. If the city did a study and it clearly says in the letter that they didn't see this to be a safety concern, you can check our security cameras almost 24/7 and you'll see children out in the road 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. And I understand that's a parent issue, but it's still a concerned citizen issue because these are small children. And all during the day, they're out playing all the time on bikes, skates. One young man now has a, a motorized go-kart that goes pretty quickly. And a lot of them have the little devices that they stand on and they move around quite fast. I don't understand how we're going to put more parking on a road if another study is not done quickly to just understand how many young live bodies are walking around all day long on the street. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Stephen. I feel that at this point I'm on a first name basis with most of Monroe Circle. It's been challenging because as Rob explained, it's an unassumed road and there were some challenges with us making some changes. I thank you very much for your feedback because just last winter we had a problem where people were illegally parking and the plow couldn't even get down there. So I do thank you for bringing this forward and we'll have a chat after this is done regarding parking on Monroe Circle. But thank you so much for taking the time to bring that forward to us again.
Oh, my pleasure. Sorry, am I gone?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, okay, my pleasure. Thank you. I'm going to reach out to both my counselors as well, just because I did email them. I didn't expect them to email me back only because they were CC'd. They weren't on the headline of the email. The gentleman from the city did. But I'd like to reach out to both of them to
Hey, Stephen, you got both of us here, just so you know.
Oh, perfect.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. You too. Yes. I would like you to take a look at the email that I sent, just because, and I have to be careful because myself and my son lives next door with my 2 small grandchildren. Our street is full of small children. Most of us, well, not most of us, a few of us have cameras. And at first I was going to be smart and say, hey, I'll send in these pictures and videos. And I thought, hold on a second, I'm taking pictures of videos of other people's small children. Not a good idea. But I can clearly take some videos and send them to you just to show you the time of day. Right up to like midnight, we have small children playing on the road. During the day, it's nonstop and it's constant. So I'd love to be able to sit and talk to both of you because I can see something happening. I work for the city of Mississauga. I do the collision reviews for the last 5 years for anybody that makes contact with our buses. So I'm pretty comfortable talking about accidents and things that I can see setting up to look like an accident. And I would love the opportunity to sit with either or both of you would be preferred just to go over this at some point.
Are you inviting me to your house?
Both of you.
Okay, I take my coffee double and send me an email with what day works for you.
Excellent. I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Going to go back to the room. Anybody else? Come on.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity for us to express our views, and everybody that has expressed something, awesome comments. There is a concern that hasn't been brought up. My husband and I live on Killarney. Killarney is a main artery. Everybody exits and enters into our area. Now this Assumption, you've got St. Gabriel's, there's that hill that slopes down. And there's those little stop signs for those people that ride bikes or scooters or skateboards to stop. That never happens, ever. In the past 2 years, 3 people have been hit by cars. And luckily, nobody has injured by those hits, but one day I feel, and it's going to happen sooner than later, that somebody will die. Now, I've been a resident on Killarney for about 17 years, and there has been a lot of police presence over the years. And when we see it, I go over and give those guys a pop or water and say, thank you so much for being there to do the scanning, of speeders. But I don't know, you know how in front of the trails, they have those, that should be implemented there, I think. That would stop those guys and girls from just assuming that we're going to stop for them. Because I don't know if any of you ever been on Killarney, but you gotta stick your nose out to gauge the vehicles and pedestrians going down there. So I think that needs to be addressed like immediately.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was actually speaking with these two ladies before the meeting started about that exact intersection.
Oh, wonderful.
Because I know that some people were hit there very recently. And I just had like a light bulb in my head. I'm wondering if we can do like flashing lights on the little active.
I don't know if
stop
flashing lights,
signs
I
or
think
something to
that
stop
would
the.
stop them. Because
It's a multi-use trail for those of you who aren't familiar. That's a multi-use trail right there. So that's where I go for my jog. So if you ever see someone just lightning speed flying by, that's me. That's a joke. I'm more of a speed walker. But yeah, I use that frequently. And I know that sometimes you're just in the zone, and you're walking and it could be dangerous. So I thank you for bringing that forward because it was a concern of mine and I like to have that validated through the community. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, we're going to go back online to Jenny. Go ahead, Jenny.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Firstly, thank you very much for looking after our neighborhood and putting in all those recommendations. I'm just basically going to second what a lot of my fellow neighbors have shared. One being that Hill, the lady in the front, mentioned it. I live on Yarrington and my route to drop off my children at school is through McGuinness onto Shellard Lane. And making that left turn onto Shellard Lane, I tend to say a little prayer as I do so, specifically because of the hill to my left, and then the rate of speed that that is coming from down the hill from Anderson. Like the other lady had mentioned, I appreciate that there are many things that need to be put into place in regards to budgeting and so on and so forth. But with all due respect, Shellard Lane cannot wait for 2024 budget. Someone is going to get killed, and that's when something's going to get done. Furthermore, my children walk home from school, and the amount of stories that my girls have from the crossing guards putting themselves at danger, at risk because of people who are not paying attention. I think that the do not turn right on red will alleviate some of that. But we all know people truly, genuinely do not pay attention, and they are always putting themselves at harm's way for our children. And there is no amount of money or respect or gratitude for these individuals that look after all of our neighborhood children. And thirdly, again, the speed on Shellard Lane. Again, I live on Yarrington, and I physically see into Shellard Lane because there is a vacant lot. And I was actually walking my dog just as recently as a couple nights ago, and they were driving like madmen. I, of course, called the police, like many of my neighbors, and the response I got was, they're in the area. They are, like the other lady mentioned, they are never in the area. And about a week and a half ago, I had to take my daughter to a dress fitting. There were two police officers sitting in the parking lot of Assumption of St. Gabriel's. And then from the time that I took my daughter and came back, it was about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. And they were in the exact same spot when I came home. So again, I know the police officers do what they can. I know it's a busy city. There is lots going on, but something needs to be done before someone truly gets killed. And I don't even want to think about that and hope, and especially because of all the children. Thank you for your time.
I want to address, there's been a lot of requests for police presence, and I just want to reiterate that as counselors and as a city, we collaborate with and we work alongside the police department, but the Brantford Police Department or the Brantford Police Services, they do not answer to us. We don't get to tell them where to go. We can suggest and ask, and I always invite them to these meetings, and they were present at the first meeting. I just want to make that clear that we don't have the authority to tell them where to go, and they are very busy. I've spent quite a bit of time in there and watching their screen. So I just want to let you know, it's not us that aren't asking them to come. It's that we literally do not have the authority to tell them where to go.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make that clear. We do hear you, we do pass this on.
We all know that you can't tell them what to do and things like that, but something at McGuinness, Powell, Shellard needs to be done, whether speed bump, four-way stop, something, or like the other, I think it was Stephanie was mentioning a roundabout into the sports complex, whenever that's going to happen. But nevertheless, there needs to be more recommendations for Shellard.
One further point to that is we've got also to keep in mind that the police are not robots either. They need to break as well. They do have a very unusual start times. So their lunchtime may not seem like it's a lunchtime, but that could be very well while they've been parked for 20 or 30 minutes. They're actually having their break before they continue on with their shift. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that.
We do have some other questions online, but if anybody in the gallery, even second speaking opportunity is fine. Oh, yeah, come on up. First time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting us. I totally agree with the panel back behind us, what they're saying about Shellard's Lane. It's just not only the cars, it's also the bikes and those e-bikes that come down on the pathway. Like again, my wife was talking first, we live on Killarney. You have to pull your nose out in order to get the fence line, either way to get your car out in order to see. Between that time, it's difficult at school time to get your car. I can wait there for about half hour, 40 minutes before I can even get out. Then you have to gun it in order to get across the road. If you don't, the cars that come down have to go too fast or too slow. Again, my nose is out far enough. You look at their left and right, there's no one there, but all of a sudden a bike comes down and he yells and curses and swears at you, gives you the finger because your car's out in the intersection because you can't move. So we need something like my wife said, to kind of stop the bikes. The stop sign's there. And I said, there's a stop sign there, you have to stop. He just told me to F off. And then my own business type of deal. So it is a concern. And also too, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it seems like every night, I don't know if everybody else has heard too, this car's going down there with their fart mufflers going bang, 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 bang. It's waking everybody up. It's just, it's ridiculous. I know the car, what it is, tell the police what's going on. The gentleman over there, we tell the police, he's on Killarney Street. We've never seen anybody there this year on Killarney Street of doing, yeah, exactly. We have plate numbers too, but no one seems to do anything. We had record, we have talked to the police, the head of police. He says, email him. We email him, nothing gets done.
I was told there's not enough neighbors complaining about the leaks that they feel.
Correct.
I was just going to suggest that we take these comments and let's all collaboratively email the Brantford Police Services and let them know that the neighborhood is concerned and they need to increase the presence there. That's how we affect change right now. I can only ask so much. They're sick of me. Trust me. I've been, yeah. Okay. So maybe you and I don't email, but everyone else, I would suggest this is the right course of action, guys, as a community.
In the area feel there's a concern.
That is correct. That's correct.
Take the time, send the emails. That's how we get them out to our neighborhood.
Personally, that our two neighbors to the other side of us, both guys called in because they watched it happen, reported the license plates. And so people are calling in. If they're telling you they're not calling in, that's a load of crap.
That's correct.
Because they are calling in. It's absurd.
I never see a police car on Shellers Lane at all. And I've lived there for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And they reduce the speed.
Be up there on Main Grants, Powerline Road. They're never on Shellers Lane.
Never on Shellers.
Can I make a request? It's a simple thing. If you're going to email the police department with a complaint, copy us on it so that we know you're doing it. So this way.
They don't even care.
No, I know, but if we're getting copies of it as well, it gives us an actual documentation to come and present before them as a whole and say, look, this has to be addressed, and we can come with everything.
I was going to suggest a petition, but that wouldn't be for me to, I mean, if somebody here felt that was the best.
Claim for them to warrant to do anything out there. He admits there's illegal exhaust, but they don't do nothing about it.
I'll
He
leave
agrees
that.
The exhaust is illegal on all these cars.
Do you want to come up to the mic? Because nobody online can hear you. Okay, I just want to. It's just dead air to anyone watching live.
And also
And
too-
sir, we've interrupted
It's okay, no
you.
worries. Also too, Shellard Lane is a main artery that goes down that room. All the cars come out of there. If like that time we had that block out with the ice there, everybody had to go down Shellard Lane. So it was we only got two bridges going across the West Brent area. We got the bar and we got Coburn Street. So it's a backlog. And now they got that tower down the end. They're going to have that baseball diamond in the football fields eventually going down there to recreation center. That's going to add more cars on top of that. It's just like a nightmare going down Shellers Lane. It's just like a major highway. And that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to just some questions that are in the Q&A. So this is a question from, I think it's Lou. At Gillespie and Cheevers, can the two-way stop sign be converted to a four-way stop? There are lots of speeding cars and Gillespie is being extended now that they are building more homes there.
So I've looked at this intersection. The lands were unassumed last I checked, and maybe traffic staff can look at that, but it used to be a four-way and then it wasn't. And I actually went and took some photos there. You could see the markings on the road. It's something that I've filed in the back of my brain for when we assume those roads to make that change there. Can you?
We can also conduct an updated traffic study at that intersection to see if it's warranted for an all-way stop.
Okay, thanks, Josh. We're going to go to Derek online. Go ahead, Derek.
Hi there. Thanks for presenting this. I wish I had known about last year, so I could have been there as well. But there's a lot of good information presented. You know, I'm going to reiterate some of the stuff, I guess, for the record around Shellard. One of the concerns I have on Shellard is that there is nowhere to cross from Conklin all the way to Anderson. That is a kilometer and a half probably. So with the new tower or the new condo building going up by Conklin there, they've closed the sidewalk. And we were told one day walking to school as you need to go back to McGinnis and cross. We're not doing that. It's not safe. So I don't know what needs to be done. I think that's sort of what Stephanie may have called out before around a raised crosswalk or something at McGinnis that turns into Powell. Shellard needs to be considered. That's one thing. The gridlock is another issue. And I think one thing that we've noticed is that going up Shellards towards the Parkway, that light is very quick if you're going across, let's say, towards Sobeys. Whereas the light going the other way along the Parkway is a lot longer. So anytime at 8 a.m. till after school, if there's 10 cars in that lineup, you're not getting through the lineup. So I think the the traffic folks need to look at that to see if there's a way to extend that light the other way. The other issue is I like the idea of the crosswalks, and I like the ones that you've put in on McGinnis as well, but maybe that won't work for a crosswalk. But at McGinnis and Heath, there's a bend there and the cars fly around that corner. So I understand the one at Yarrington will go in or propose to go in, which is good, but that doesn't stop all the cars flying around that corner. So I don't know if you could put in one of those raised traffic devices that you were talking about as one of the options there instead of being a crosswalk. It's just not safe. They come around. Yes, yesterday I had to yell at someone for speeding. And then lastly, and I'm just going to bring it up because someone else did, around snow. Every city I've lived in a lot of different cities. Every time there's snow, a snow event, you can't park on the roads to give snow people time to clear the roads. Can that not be something? I know that's not something for our area, but that's more of a city question. I would just sort of direct that to you, Rose, is to, something that to think about for the future. But that's all the questions I had. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. So we're definitely going to need to look at Shellard Lane in the area of McGinnis and Yarrington and look at traffic control options. The winter parking ban after a snow event, in a perfect world, that would be something that we could initiate. And in my 19 years working for the city, we've tried it 3 or 4 times, and we have yet to be successful just because like in this neighborhood is a good example. You have large houses with small driveways and multiple generations of families living in a house. So you have 4 or 5 vehicles. And if we implemented a winter parking ban, those vehicles wouldn't have anywhere to park. So every time we've considered options, we always are unsuccessful. So we do have a report that we're going to send to council, perhaps just looking at, your arterials and collectors doing that. And then, but on your local roads, it would be very difficult to implement just because of the high demand for on-street parking, and especially in the older areas of the city as well, where a lot of houses don't have driveways. So you'd have to look at some kind of exemption permitting system for them. And every time we've done it, it's just been very complicated to implement, and unfortunately hasn't gone anywhere. But it's something that we're definitely wanting to implement, and we're just trying to come up with a plan that would be successful and not cause too much negative impact to the residents.
Okay, thanks, Derek.
Yeah, my only other question, sorry, would have been around McGinnis and Heath, though. I don't think that was mentioned. It just sort of, if we could look at another traffic calming measure at that spot.
Yep, I was diligently taking notes when you were speaking.
Okay.
We'll definitely
Thank
look
you.
at that intersection as well.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, was there anybody else in the room? Yep, come on. Sorry, go ahead, Mary Ellen, and then we'll go back to you.
Oh, okay. So I didn't
come
want
on.
to take up
No,
anyone's.
come on.
2 things. I just wanted a clarification. I've heard 3 times now the McGinnis and Shellard's Lane without the stoplight, that particular one that and Powell is on the other side. I brought that concern up, and I've heard it another couple of times, but I did hear you respond to an individual, one of the staff, that there could be some calming measures put there. But I thought I heard previous to that it's an arterial road and that couldn't happen. So I just need a point of clarification there. Can we or can we not do anything in terms of a crosswalk on Shellards? I heard no, it's an arterial road. And then I heard yes.
So we wouldn't be able to install a raised physical crosswalk at crossing Shellard Lane because it is an arterial road, but there are other options like putting an intersection pedestrian signal to allow for pedestrians to cross. They'd have to push the button and it changes to red, and it acts like a half traffic signal. But we will do a turning movement count to see if a full traffic signal is warranted. It sounds like there's a lot of concerns at that intersection, and I appreciate these meetings because it helps staff to focus on certain areas. And when we get consistent feedback from residents, that helps us out a lot because we know where to focus our attention. So we will certainly look at that intersection.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And my other comment is I appreciate that the city does not direct the police. However, if there's a way to share information with the police, what I'm noticing is that much of the speeding is happening west of that particular intersection. So the police sitting in the parking lot at the school is not going to catch the speed racers, which happen in the evening. And I much appreciate they need to have their breaks. However, using their resources a little bit more effectively might be useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to a first-time speaker online. Carrie, go ahead.
Yes, hi, good evening. I know that it clearly sounds like, and I think that you've got the message that it's a humongous community, that we are all very, very concerned about the Shellard Lane, the traffic and the safety issue. I know myself, I was almost hit on that road through McGuinness crossing the street. I actually had to run from the car. So somebody will die there. So I know that we aren't able really to do a heck of a lot. So I'm trying to think outside of the box. And I know this is going to sound like maybe a really bizarre, crazy idea, but it's an idea. So I'm just wondering, I sometimes see, like there's one on Conklin, it's a video surveillance, a neighborhood video surveillance. What is the chance, and I know nothing about it, but what is the chance of having something like that on Shellards at the McGuinness to capture anything? Maybe we can have a massive community fundraiser to raise money for that. I don't know, but it's something that we haven't really thought about. So I don't know if that's even an option, but I'm really concerned about it. I will not walk there anymore because that was quite scary for me. It was in the evening. And somebody's going to die, and I don't want to ever see that happen. So that's sort of my sort of thought. But anyway, maybe a crazy idea, but I had to put it out there.
Crazy ideas are my favorite ideas, just so you know. We're making notes. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, back to the room. Yep.
So as we were speaking, I contacted the Shellards.
I'm sorry, do you mind coming to the mic, just because we get messages from the onliners that they can't hear you? Yeah, and I think this is something everyone would want to hear. Thanks.
So regarding the petition that we were just, kind of all had brought up, I was talking to the lady that introduced herself in the beginning online, one of the volunteers for Shellards, and she said, yes, absolutely, that she would gladly help organize and talk to you more about organizing a petition about Shellards Lane to present. So we could probably get that into the works. That's all I wanted to say.
Can you stay after the meeting and chat? Anyone who wants to chat about this more, just hang back.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And Deanna has her hand raised, so I'm going to let her speak to that as well.
That was a beautiful segue, I just want to say, because yes, absolutely. We've been getting messages on our Shellard Neighborhood Association messenger through Facebook with a number of the attendees that are concerned about, that's been echoing through the night about the speed and the police presence. So what I'm doing is looking to Councillor Michael and Councillor Rose for some guidance and assistance in putting a petition together. And then at least then we know what needs to get done. It's a good foundation, and then we can move forward to distribute it through the community to definitely get some action put forward.
Thanks, Deanna. When's your next meeting?
We don't meet again until September.
Okay, so maybe we'll just carve out some time to connect and
Yeah, absolutely. And we use social media very often throughout the summer months to promote, any of the activities or any of the concerns. But of course, absolutely, if we can do something sooner rather than later, start some sort of online petition, and we can definitely start to send it through our social media channels.
Thank you, Deanna. I know we'll work together on this collaboratively. And I do want to mention before I forget, we've ordered here the lawn signs that say "Slow down, kids at play." Deanna, you reminded me of that. We discussed it at the last meeting for the SNA. So those are on order. They're coming soon. So those will be available if you want one for your front lawn. You could reach out to myself or the Shellard Lane Association or Councillor Sullivan and get one for your lawn.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to go to a question in the Q&A from Caitlin. Hello, just wondering if there will be any additions to the four-way stop at English Lane and Blackburn where the schools are. She had asked about this and the possibility of putting in a raised crosswalk at the first meeting.
So everything west of Conklin Road right now is not assumed by the city. So that intersection of English Lane and Blackburn is not assumed by us right now. So once it is assumed, we can look at doing additional traffic calming measures along Blackburn. So for right now, we can just enhance it with signage, pavement markings, and police presence until we assume the roadway.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Is there anybody else in the room who wanted to make any comments or ask a question? Okay, we do have a couple more online, so we're going to go to Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Good evening, and thank you very much for holding these meetings and hearing our concerns. Very simply, everyone is speaking to current state with regards to the traffic and the speeding. We have to remember, though, that there are, I'm not sure how many extra houses going in the next year to 5 years down Shellard's Lane, and that is just going to exacerbate all the issues. So to reiterate about the timelines, taking action in 2 to 3 years, that may be too long of a timeline. That's all.
Thanks, Mike. I think we got that message tonight. Right, team? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Mike. Another call for anybody in the room? No, okay, we do have a couple more online. Gonna go to Carrie for the first time question. Go ahead, Carrie. Carrie, are you there? You just have to unmute. Carrie, did you want to ask a question? No, okay. We will go back to Stephen.
Hi, thank you again for your time. I was going to quietly go into the night and then something else occurred to me. First of all, I hear a lot of talk about our police force at Brantford. I haven't had any interaction myself personally, but I've watched them work. I see the young men on the motorcycles and the dirt bikes all over the place. I actually think they do a great job. I think that the 8.5 years that I lived here, I've seen crime change in our city. So I do appreciate the work they do. I don't think anybody was really hard on them. I think they were truthful. I just want the police to know, in case any of them listening, hopefully they listen to all of this. You're well appreciated and we appreciate your hard work. The real reason I called was, one of my questions was, I'm going to read it verbatim what I wrote. I realized you were being asked for a lot of physical work to be implemented into our streets. And of course, there's a budget issue and concern with the costs. I don't know if there's any ideas floating out there as a way to raise money with events through donations or events. Please let me know. I'd like to participate. I'm sure other people would as well. I mentioned this to a neighbor of mine and they thought I was crazy because we pay enough in taxes. I said, if we did something like this, we wouldn't have to pay more in taxes. So that's one of the questions I have is there anything out there that allows money to be raised or any events that councils have used in the past that we as regular citizens can be involved in to help raise money to implement a lot of these ideas? Because these ideas at the end of the day cost money and it has to get accounted into a budget somewhere. That's it.
You're absolutely correct. And that's why this is staggered out over 2 years. You'll see that we have this rollout. And it's just because we don't want to go ask council for all of it up front. We have to spread that out a little bit. I love the idea of perhaps some community fundraising to implement something probably for Shellard Lane. Just a thought. I think that something like that is best run in collaboration with the councillors through the neighborhood association. So that might be something that we can filter through the neighborhood association. So I'm going to chat with the representatives there, with Rob and Deanna, and that's a good idea. Let me, work through it with the neighborhood association and see if there's appetite for that, for them to assist with that. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Deanna, did you want to go ahead again?
Yeah, I just wanted to add some to Steve's comment. And, Shellard Neighborhood Association's been around for a little while, and we have done events in the past where the community was a little bit smaller. There was a lot more active participants. There were a lot more community representation in the events at Donegal Park, where we would have, our fun fairs and raise money. Over the years, I feel like there has been a little bit less of, and again, it goes many, many folds. It goes ways that we promote, because we are a volunteer-based association, so we can only do what we can. But we try to promote the Shellard Neighborhood Association meetings because we do it on our Facebook page. We also do it on our sign that's on the corner of Veterans and Blackburn. So I think that what's really important is that if you do have some ideas, absolutely bring them forward to SNA. Absolutely. It's a great way for us to be able to take a look to see, what can be done. I know that back in the day, we used to raise money to put equipment in the parks. Donegal Park is one example, Edith Montour, Hickory as well. But yeah, absolutely. Focusing our fundraising towards safety measures in collaboration with our counselors would be absolutely something that Shellard Neighborhood Association would take part in.
Deanna, I already sent you a message. Check your Facebook Messenger.
I bet you did. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Deanna. I don't see any other raised hands online, but I'm going to do a last call. If anybody else wanted to raise a question or make any other comments to the larger group. And we will be sticking around a little bit if you wanted to have one-on-one conversations. So thank you very much for coming. It's quite a lovely summer night, and you had a lot of other options. So being here and providing your feedback, we're really grateful, and we value your time and your attention and your engagement. Thank you very much.